Hey boys and girls, Mrs. Twisdale here, lesson 3.1, understanding positive and negative numbers. I don't have a stylus today, so my handwriting might be a little sloppy, sorry about that. Your objective today is I can understand positive and negative numbers and use them to represent real world quantities. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so write this in your notes please on your example side. This is the definition of integers. Integers is all whole numbers. This means that it's not fractions and it's not decimals, but any whole number as well as their opposite. Two numbers are opposites if they are the same distance away from zero on a number line. So looking down at my number line here, all positive whole numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 236, 529, 2,362,000. Those are all positive integers, as long as they're not a fraction, not a decimal. Negative integers as well, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Now when we talk about integers, we talk about opposites. These numbers are opposite if they're the same distance away from zero on a number line. For example, the opposite of 3, positive 3, is negative 3 because their distance from 0, oops, if I can aim, is the same if I was to draw a perfect number line. So, 0 is its own opposite. You're just going to have to remember that. Okay, so today's lesson, I guess is the word I'm looking for. You're going to place the integer on the number line and then tell me its opposite. So where would negative 5 be on this number line? Hopefully you're saying, well, duh, Mrs. Twisdale, it's right there. And the opposite of negative 5 is going to be the one that's the exact same distance on the other side of 0, 5 spaces. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is positive 5, because they are both 5 spaces away from 0. That's a 5 spaces, not S spaces. Let's just try. I want you guys to try this one. Place the integer on the number line and then state its opposite. Okay, so the integer 2 is right here, and it is 1, 2 spaces away from 0. So going the other direction, 2 spaces away from 0, is negative 2. The opposite of 2 is negative 2. Same distance away from 0. Okay, so go ahead and write the opposite for these three integers. To check your work, opposite of positive 9 is negative 9. Opposite of negative 12 is positive 12, or we could just write 12. And 0 is the opposite of itself, so the opposite of 0 is just 0. We are just going right on through this. Okay, so I put the examples in, the answers in here. I know I did that. I did it on purpose so that I wouldn't have to write them, but I could still show them to you. So I'm going to use the laser here. So sometimes it will say name the integer that represents the situation. So remember, we're talking about real world quantities. These are some real world things that might happen. And you need to tell what is the integer and what would 0 represent in that situation. So let me show you the first example. Now, see these green dots? Those are the ones I want you to write in your notebook. You don't have to write all of them, just the ones with the green dots. So here's the situation. A team loses 10 yards on a football play. If they lost 10 yards, that's going to be a negative 10. Okay? That's what the integer would be represented by. Now, what would 0 be here? What does 0 represent? If the team neither gained nor lost any yardage. Let me show you another one. A point in Yuma, Arizona is 70 feet below or above sea level. That word above tells us it's positive. So it would be positive 70. And 0 would be a point that would be exactly at sea level. A temperature of 40 degrees below is a keyword for negative 40, was recorded in Missouri. A temperature of 0 degrees would be 0. Now, Larry withdraws $30 from his bank account. Withdraw is a negative, it's a subtraction, okay? This was a negative, this one was positive, that one was negative. So, and 0 would be if there was no change in the account balance. Trisha's golf score was 7 strokes below par, so it would be negative 7, a score of exactly par. And a chlorine ion has one more electron than proton. Electrons are negative and protons are positive, and so that's why it would be negative 1, because it has one more electron. And if the protons and neutrons or electrons were equal, that's what 0 would represent. Let me show you a little picture. So, for example, the sea level question. I drew a little picture because it said it was 70 feet below sea level. If this is where the like the water was, the sea was, and we know that you can like dive into the sea and there's below sea level. So 70 feet below sea level would be like negative 70. That's where my little submarine is. Now the top of my little flag here would be about 5 feet above sea level. But sea level, 0, would be where the sea level is. And so that's what what does 0 represent thing. Alright, couple of try it problems before we're done. So I want you to try this one. Go ahead and, for these two examples, write the integer and then what would 0 be. Okay, so Desmond made $850 this summer job. Well, he made that money. Sounds like a positive integer to me, 850. What would 0 be if he didn't make any money? I'm going to put no money. And Miguel withdraws $300 from his checking account. Remember, withdraw would be negative 300. And 0 would be if there was no change on his account. Sorry, it's kind of hard to write with my finger there. Alright, 2 more problems. I want you to explain this one for me. A plane's altitude changes by negative 1,000 feet. Is the plane going up or down? And explain why. You may explain with words and pictures or just words. Okay, so in this situation, changes by negative 1,000 feet. That means the plane is going down because negative would be represented by a decrease. Or something like that. If you didn't write exactly what I did, that's okay. And you might draw a little airplane going down. I'm really not too good at drawing airplanes, so I'm not going to try today. Okay. Alright, in the last try it problem, I want you to write in your notebook 3 examples of when negative numbers are used in daily life. There are so many examples, so I am not even going to write any answers here because I want you to come up with your own. Think of any time you've thought of negative numbers. You can use examples from the lesson today or just from your own brain. That's an introduction to positive and negative numbers, and I hope you guys have an awesome day of learning.